Yo, welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles now. My name is Chase Sr. Hope everybody out there is having a fantastic week. And look, there are so many content options out there. So anytime you decide to watch our shows, I do appreciate that. Coming up here on this segment, Eagles fans getting some good news and some bad news prior to this Week 5 matchup against the Denver Broncos. What do I mean by that? Stay tuned to find out. But I do want to begin here. We are shooting for 132,000 subscribers here on Philadelphia Eagles. Now, if you want Eagles coverage that is insightful, informative, entertaining, thought-provoking, where you have a voice, join the movement, hit that sub button. And with this video alone, we've been able to pick up some crazy subscribers with all of our shows, right? And here at Chat Sports, no channel covering the NFL has picked up more subs in the last calendar year than us. We have work to do. And I think that we can accomplish this goal of 132,000 subscribers with this show. We're 452 people away. All right, let's begin here. Obviously, we saw last year that the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and they were the number one defense in the National Football League, partially because of the play of their two rookies who Howie Roseman took in the first two rounds. Quinyon Mitchell in the first round, DeJean in the second round. They were fantastic players in Week 1 in their debut seasons in the National Football League. And obviously, when you do what they did in the regular season, and then they were even better in the playoffs, and then DeJean had the pick six of Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, that's going to lead to expectations being very high, not just for 2025 and their sophomore campaigns, but for the rest of their Eagles' careers. And I'll tell you what, to start this year, I think Quinyon and DeJean have been playing at Pro Bowl, All-Pro levels, and the last couple of weeks, they've especially been truly elite. And then against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they took it up a notch again. And these are two building blocks on this Eagles defense that I think can be a part of this core for the next 5, 8, hopefully 10 years. And Quinyon and DeJean specifically against the Buccaneers at the cornerback spots truly had two of the best performances on film that you'll ever see from a cornerback duo in an NFL game. And because of how dominant he was, this man here to my right, talking about Quinyon Mitchell, he was named the NFC Defensive Player of the Week. And here is why. He had more than 50 snaps in coverage, 72 snaps for the game. You want to talk about stamina with the real field temperature being over 100 degrees the entire game? That's Quinyon Mitchell right there. So he logs those 72 snaps. He was targeted 9 times. On those 9 targets, he only gave up 2 catches for 6 yards. He had 5 pass breakups in a single game, and he allowed a rating when targeted of 39.6. And he, by far, was the highest graded corner among all corners in Week 4, according to Pro Football Focus. He earned a 91.8 grade, ahead of Byron Murphy, ahead of Charvarius Ward, ahead of James Pierre, and Drew Phillips of the Giants. And I really do think that the last 2 games specifically, Quinyon Mitchell has played like a Defensive Player of the Year. And some people might say, Chase, it's really hard to win DPOI as a corner. I get it. Usually it goes to a defensive end and an edge rusher. Aaron Donald, sometimes it goes to a player like that at defensive tackle. But in 2024, especially in this pass-happy era of football, it did go to Patrick Surtain. Quinyon Mitchell continues to play like he has the last 2 weeks, locking down and traveling with Devontae Adams, and then putting the clamps, Quinyon Mitchell, on a young rising star like Emeka Egbuka. He's going to be in the running to be an All-Pro, but he could be in the running to win Defensive Player of the Year. Furthermore, some of the next-gen stats with Quinyon, unbelievable. So he had those 44 coverage snaps, not 50-plus like I said a little bit earlier. That's my bad. Receptions, targets, 2 and 9. And obviously, the databases always change, by the way, PFF next-gen stats, because they have their own tracking metrics. He gave up 6 receiving yards. Here's where it gets crazy. Tight windows forced. 7 on those 9 targets, and his time in tight coverage, 17.9 seconds. The 6 tight window targets tied for the most since 2018. That is just crazy, unbelievable play by Quinyon Mitchell. And what I really love too, how feisty he was. He got in the face of Baker Mayfield, talked some smack, didn't back down. He got in the face, and I don't always recommend this, but he got in the face of Tristan Wirfs, grabbed the helmet off of his head. And last year, he was kind of a silent assassin. He didn't really say much. He was trying to find his groove and find his place as a rookie. But you're seeing Quinyon play with more aggressiveness, carry himself with more swagger, and I love that about him. And when you combine the performances of both Quinyon and Coop, here's how they played against the Bucs. 18 combined targets between the two 2024 draft picks, 7 catches allowed for 52 yards, 4 pass breakups, and a passer rating allowed when targeted of 47. And a big reason why Vic Fangio is such a big fan of both these players, but especially Cooper DeJean, it's the football IQ. They are both so cerebral. And Cooper DeJean is just such a great football player. And that's why the Eagles have him at outside corner, in the slot, and playing safety. He made one of the finest plays I've ever seen on tape for a cornerback. Not a hyperbolic statement, no joke. And it's one of the smartest plays that I've ever seen because this is all based on feel and recognition. And so let's take a look at the tape to do a little bit of a film breakdown. You'll see that Baker Mayfield is under center, lone tailback, kind of a heavy formation, and Cooper DeJean is lined up at right corner for the defense on the left side of the offensive line of scrimmage, one-on-one against Emeka Egbuka, right? And this is when the Buccaneers ran that flea flicker trick play. And obviously, the thought and the first read on the flea flicker is to fake out the defense, show run, have the defense crash forward, get a safety to bite, and then take that deep shot. Well, here you'll see that as Baker Mayfield is about to get the pitch back to him off that flea flicker, you see that Cooper DeJean is lined up right here. And he is trailing the deep shot guy, Emeka Egbuka. But Cooper DeJean also realizes that he's got some safety help back there. So we go to the next slide. And clearly Baker wants to take that shot. But look at Cooper DeJean's eyes right here. He takes his eyes off Egbuka because he knows that he has the safety help here. And then in his defensive progression in the secondary, he sees Chris Godwin coming across the field here. So Cooper DeJean is going to leave the vertical to cover the crosser. He cuts it upfield back toward the line of scrimmage, gets in front of Chris Godwin, and nearly intercepts this pass. Now, in the moment, it looked like he did pick off this pass, but it did hit the ground. But that is such a heads-up play to do this in real time, to react so quickly to make a play of this level. I mean, this is a second-year guy. And Quinyon and Coop right now are playing like savvy veterans. And they can continue to get better. And collectively, this Eagles defense as a whole can continue to get better and improve and dominate. And this is why Eagles fans should be so damn excited. Philadelphia right now, based on playing time, has the youngest defense in the National Football League. And this isn't changing anytime soon. And we're going to take a look at this by level. So defensive line, linebackers into the secondary. Nolan Smith is 23. Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter are both still 24. Moro Ajomo having a great year, 24. Jalix Hunt, 24. Zach Bond is like the elder statesman on this defense. He's 28. Jahad Campbell is 21. Quinyon Mitchell is 24. Keely Ringo is 23. Reed Blankenship is 26. Drew Makuba and Cooper DeJean are 22. This is a collective defensive core that can continue to grow, evolve, improve, get better, and continue to really play fantastic football under Vic Fangio for years to come. Now, as I mentioned off the rip, that's the good news for Eagles fans. The bad news is something that we're going to get to here just on the other side. And this has become a problematic issue that has led to a lot of the Eagles' struggles this season, and we're going to get to that here in just a few moments. But first, let's give a shout out to our friends at PrizePicks. We really appreciate them for making today's Philadelphia Eagles now possible. The #1 fantasy sports app. You can win big up to 2,000 times your money. Available all across the country. It's easy and exciting daily fantasy. You can see for yourself at prizepicks.com/CLNS. There are also some new features here with PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Josh Allen's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? You can do that. You could pick all of them in the same lineup only on PrizePicks. You can also follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on PrizePicks. Our 3-pick power play, A.J. Brown just has to go off against the Broncos, right? Let's go with more than 55.5 receiving yards. J.K. Dobbins, really good back to start the season, more than a half rushing or receiving touchdown. And then Jalen Hurts, more than 180.5 passing yards. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, let's get to this. There is a huge issue that the Philadelphia Eagles need to fix, and they need to fix this as soon as possible. Otherwise, they won't fulfill the expectations that this team is capable of accomplishing here in 2025. If they want to repeat as Super Bowl champions, this offensive line needs to improve. And we think of this Eagles offensive line as one of the best units in all of football, a unit that can dominate game in and game out, that wears the opposition down throughout the course of a 60-minute ball game. That hasn't been the case this year. And there has been a very concerning regression with this Eagles offensive line the first 4 games of the year. It does not look like an elite unit. They've been anything but that to start off this season. And when you think about this matchup on Sunday against the Denver Broncos, this Eagles offensive line needs to play better against a Broncos team that has one of the best defenses in the NFL. They're number 2 in points per game given up, but they are number 1 in the following categories: sacks with 15, quarterback hits with 41, pressure rate at 47.1%. This is an Eagles offense that hasn't been able to throw it consistently. Part of the reason? Pressure, especially from the interior. This is an Eagles offensive line that hasn't been able to block in the run game good enough. Saquon Barkley, I think, looks great. He looks like the player from last year, but the running lanes haven't been open. And this is because the Eagles offensive line, they're not winning their one-on-ones. They're not sound in the scheme. They're missing assignments, and they're just not playing the ball that we're accustomed to seeing them play. And it's the same offensive line outside of right guard where Tyler Steen has taken over for Mekhi Becton. Mekhi Becton's with the Chargers, and I think at moments, Tyler Steen has played well. On some of Saquon Barkley's touchdown runs, they've run behind Tyler Steen. He's had some good blocks. He's pretty athletic. But the consistency with his game isn't there. And that's kind of always been the problem with him. And then furthermore, you look at how this Eagles offensive line has performed in 2025. There's a lot of money invested up front. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Jordan Mailata. He's actually been one of the highest graded offensive linemen in the game. But Landon Dickerson, not playing well. He is number 2 in average annual value for left guards in the NFL. Cam Jurgens is one of the highest paid centers in the NFL. Hasn't played all that great. Tyler Steen, way too up and down. Lane Johnson, when on the field, has been very good, not elite, but he's also been hurt a couple of times. And so these numbers here are problematic, and they're kind of shocking, right? Philadelphia, 25th in yards before contact per carry, 27th in run stuff rate, 22nd in run block rate, 24th in pressure rate allowed, and 26th in pass block win rate. That's not going to cut it. And so you think about this Eagles offense as a whole, as a unit to start the year. They've had good halves. They've had good quarters. They've had good stretches. A big reason, though, why the offense has been inconsistent throwing it, they can't pass protect. A big reason why Saquon Barkley's yards have gone down every week and why he hasn't been able to pop off those long, trademark explosive runs, why he hasn't been able to have that great game is because this Eagles offensive line is not doing a good enough job of blocking in the ground game. And this is also pretty nutty, right? Last year, Saquon Barkley had that legendary season. Broke the record for the most rushing yards in a single season when you combine the regular season and playoffs. Set the franchise record for rushing yards in a single season. Ran for over 2,000 yards in the regular season. Nearly beat Eric Dickerson's record with a game fewer played. And how many times did he pop off those explosive runs? I mean, 40, 50, 60, 70-yard runs. Occasionally, no. All the time, yes. This year, though, it hasn't even happened occasionally. And a big reason for that is the space that he's not getting as soon as he gets the ball. And when he's getting some of these carries, it feels as though he is swarmed right away. Now, some of this is due to defenses loading the box and selling out to stop the run because they're trying to stop Saquon first as the point of emphasis for stopping the Eagles offense. But again, the offensive line has to play better. But look at these numbers here. 2024, in yards before contact, yards before he was even contacted, Saquon Barkley would pick up 3.8 yards per attempt prior to contact. Number one in the NFL. Here in 2025, he is picking up less than a yard per attempt before contact. And that's why he's had so many TFLs against him, and that's why he has really struggled to get going. I think that Saquon looks every bit of the player that we saw last year. We've seen the burst, we've seen the explosion, but the lanes haven't been there, the gaping holes have not been there, and it's because of the Eagles offensive line. Now, obviously, with the talent, you feel good. With Jeff Stoutland, you feel great. Best offensive line coach in the NFL. But it needs to get fixed and corrected ASAP. How about these numbers here? The Eagles' interior offensive line, Landon Dickerson, Tyler Steen, Cam Jurgens, have given up a combined 26 pressures. That's in the pass game. And you're not going to be successful in the pass game if the pressure is coming from the interior. Why do you think so many teams across the NFL the last few years have really started to prioritize getting pass rushing defensive tackles? It's because if the pocket gets muddied and the quarterback's vision and sightline is blurred, that impacts the entire process of trying to throw the ball downfield. And that's why Jalen Hurts has gotten sacked on a few occasions. That's why Jalen Hurts has been moved off of his spot. That's why at times as a shorter quarterback, Hurts has struggled to throw over the middle because the pressure is coming right from the gut, and immediately that can wreck a play. And specifically with Landon Dickerson, I have some numbers that I'm trying to fetch here. His pass blocking grade this season, week 1, 39.9, week 2, 56.1, week 3, 47.5, week 4, 40.5. He's getting targeted a lot, and clearly he is not healthy to start the year, and he's kind of killing this Eagles offensive line. He's also allowed 3 sacks and 13 total pressures in 2025. He's now on pace to allow 12 sacks and 55 total pressures this year. His previous career high, 5 sacks and 38 total pressures. That came in 2023. So he's a component along the interior and along the Eagles offensive line who also needs to improve. I'm spitting out this type of data, this type of analysis right here on YouTube, but also on my social media pages. So give me a follow over there, X and Instagram at Chase_Senior, and I look forward to hearing from you.